Hello, everyone. It is Sunday, 6:30 p.m., and it is July 7th. And I've got our next guest here on Throwing Light, Ezra. I just forgot your last name prior. There we go, Ezra Pryor. Before I
Sure,
get
sure.
on here, I do want to remind y'all this is Throwing Light, and if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. If you want to help support Throwing Light and you like what we're doing, why don't you hop over to ashwellatx.org, learn about Ashwell. They're an organization here in Austin that help provide services for our community for mental health and physical health. They've got it. They also have a food bank. So if you want to donate to that, help people get food, that's fantastic. And you don't even have to be in Austin to donate towards Asheville. So if you like to do that, go over to ashwellatx.org. Let's go ahead and kick it into the episode. Welcome, Ezra Pryor. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, most people know me as Sir Ezra.
Sir Ezra. So let's go.
Yeah, but it's all good.
Sir Ezra. Sir Ezra,
Yeah,
why don't you tell people a little bit about who you are? And we met at Claw. So what was your, what brought us, what were you doing before we met?
sure. Yeah. So I was like a super volunteer at Claw. I was volunteering 8 hours a day, and I also taught four classes and two demos.
Wait, at Claw
So and
last year?
yeah, that's right. Well,
When
do
was
we meet
that?
in Claw, LA or Claw,
We were in Claw
Ohio?
LA. We were Claw LA.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I think I taught two classes at Claw, LA, three maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Came to one of your classes.
Yeah, yeah. I did a lot in Claw, Ohio. I'm
No,
sorry, Cleveland.
I've
Yeah,
heard
yeah,
it's
Cleveland.
great. Right now, that's the weekend before Austin King weekend for me. I mean, that's what it was.
Yeah,
It's
it's too
just
much.
gonna. It's not. It's a hard to do, but two back to back. But
Yeah.
but I have so many. I have friends there now, and IML brothers, and so I want to get over there. So maybe next year we'll see.
Yeah, well, it's very different from Claw, LA, but
I
yeah.
imagine it's
They
huge.
took in Cleveland they take over the whole hotel,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
I was. It was easy to be. There was no. As of right now, it wasn't difficult to get into the host hotel for Claw LA. But I enjoyed.
Yeah,
There's a good amount of people there, and I liked the hotel and how it had different color things or whatever. I had a good time. So
sure, sure.
I'm wanting to repeat a few events this year, but so yeah. Why don't we
Yeah.
talk about some of the things that you taught at Claw and kind of go through
Yeah.
where you are now?
Sure. Yeah, I always teach Mind Fucking Mindfully because I wrote the book, Mind Fucking Mindfully, A Guide to Mental Manipulation for BDSM and Sadomasochism. Um, I'm really happy with how the book has been doing. It's sold more than 3,000 copies since 2020. And it's like so much fun to teach that class. I've probably taught it 60 or 70 times at this point, and so it's like I have it memorized by heart, and so I'm just having fun the whole time, and it's good. We play a game in the class, and I give away prizes and stuff. It's a good time.
Okay.
So um so that's fun. I also was teaching about my clinical sexology research project, which was radical sexual acceptance. So I started coaching at the beginning of COVID, and I was realizing that the common thread of all the people that I was coaching was a challenge with acceptance. And so I started a clinical sexology research project to like basically I was using my own method, and I wanted to say, okay, well, like, can I get some evidence that this is a proper method, like that this is actually helping people, right? Like it feels like it's helping people, but can I get some data, right? And so I started independently doing a clinical sexology research project, and I did that for about 2 years. And then actually at Claw LA, I met the people from CARAS, right? The CARAS, I think it is the Community Association for Research on Alternative Sexualities. I could have the acronym wrong, but basically they help people do research, right? And because I was doing it independently, I wouldn't have had a chance to like publish in a journal or anything like that. But working with Karis, I'm going to have an institutional review board, which is essential for like scholarly journal publication. And so that's really exciting. And I'm working with a few people there. And yeah, that's really exciting. And we have data from the original study. We're calling it a pilot study. Um, but the data is really good, right? And a couple of the things we're shoring up in the new study is like how are we selecting participants and how are we like still collecting data from participants who opt out of the study mid-study, right? Because if I'm not collecting data from them, then it's not a full picture of what's going on, right?
Right.
Um, anything's not going to work for everybody, but even a 60% like adoption rate is really good. Um, and yeah, so I mean, I don't want to talk about the data right now, but I can just tell you in general that it's like really promising and it's really exciting, and I'm really excited to be working with these folks moving forward.
What's been your motivation behind doing, being interested in all these approaches? You are one of the most scholarly people, I guess, that I have encountered in terms of definitely focusing on practices of the mind and things like that. That is something that definitely plays a part into not only our acceptance but our comfort a lot, I believe. What is it,
Yeah,
what brought you to these interests?
sure. Well, I think I'm trying to figure out how long of the story am I going to give you, right? Um, I think I was really interested in kink early on in my life. Like I can remember being a child and doing what I would describe as kinky things. But um but then at some point in my 20s I thought like that it wasn't going to lead to a life, right? Like I essentially I put myself in the closet, right? If I can use that term. I said, well, that's enough with childish things. That's enough with excellent sex that is bizarre and weird. Like time to find a relationship with somebody who is willing to build a life with me and who, is also willing to make decisions and make choices, right? Because I was really attracted to submissive masochists. And um submissives often are not willing to make choices. Not to say all of them. I think there's some that are definitely willing to be proactive in life and then just submissive in the bedroom. But I think there was this misconception in my mind that like pursuing that was unhealthy, right? So I kind of quit in a way in my 20s. And I was in a marriage and it became evident how important it actually was to me. It became really evident that it wasn't an option, that it really was part of me, it was essential, and that I needed to keep exploring, right? And that, among other things, sort of ended that marriage. And so I really kind of threw myself into kink. And I was I was both feet in for like 10 years before just before COVID hit. I was really feeling I was getting like that financial success, but I wasn't feeling really fulfilled in my work. And I was wondering, what am I doing at work that I could translate into um kink? I think there's a question a lot of people ask that I asked myself, and that's like, what am I going to do with my life? Right? And I didn't necessarily come up with an answer, but I did come up with a better question. And the better question was, what am I already doing with my life that's working? Right. And so that was 2019, right before COVID hit. And I said, well, let me organize symposia. Let me bring educators to the table. Let me present. let me give presentations, because those are things that were working for me in my professional life, but felt really empty just because of the content, and I wasn't really passionate about it. So I had barely gotten started. I think I started as the director of education at Sanctuary LAX Studios in 2019 in like November, right? And then COVID came like 6 months later, less than that even. And so everything became online. I was doing classes once a week through Sanctuary. I was presenting classes every other week myself personally. Um, and I was working as a pro dom. I was coaching people in BDSM, and the it was all based on, I wanted to help people who were in the position I was in before, right? Because I was up against this wall of non-acceptance, and it really cost me like a decade of my life. And if I can get in there and help people discover that earlier, and help people discover their acceptance, and help people work through that state of non-acceptance, then that would mean a lot to me, and that would mean that my time on this earth isn't wasted, right? um and so that was what the impetus of coaching was, is 'cause as soon as, COVID hit, I had a lot of time on my hands, and I was like, let me do coaching, right? And so I've been helping people a lot that way. And again, I noticed this pattern and then was like, let me research it. Let me figure out, what to do with it, right?
So, can you explain how non-acceptance can affect you sexually?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, non-acceptance looks like a lot of different things, but it's it's sort of this like generator of self-hatred or self-disgust or distaste, or um if you ever heard yourself say like, I wish it was different, or why is this happening to me, or I shouldn't have to do this, like those are all like the narrative of non-acceptance, right? Because what the world is amazing. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's miraculous. And yeah, it's complicated, but if we curse it, then all we have is curses, right? We have to learn to accept them as blessings. And furthermore, there is a situation that we're in and it's difficult. It's because we've got a lesson to learn, right? And so what's the lesson to be learned in this moment? And if you're not willing to learn that lesson, then you're closing your eyes and you're looking to essentially keep living that same lesson over and over again. And that's the last thing that we want to do, right? When we're hiding from things, it's because we don't want to be in it. But it's like getting in a fight with some part of yourself. Like you're engaging that part of yourself instead of letting it go, right?
Yeah. So, what are some approaches that people can take, or some things that are nuggets of information that you can give people that can help
Yeah.
some non-acceptance,
I
or
want
what?
I want to answer your questions. I want to answer your question, but let me answer your last question again, because I feel like I got two in the clouds, right? I have two in my head. Non-acceptance looks like I can't keep myself present in a sexual experience. I can't feel confident dating. I can't feel like I want to feel present, or I can't accept that this person loves me, right? Like those are all like non-acceptance things, right? Those are all like symptoms of non-acceptance, right?
Would
And then
would
say it
insecurities
again.
would insecurities play into that? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, non-acceptance is like a generator of insecurities, right? Like I shouldn't be this shy, right? There's like, imagine if you're shy, right? If you're shy and you accept that you're shy, you go, well, I like to be quiet a little bit until I get to know people, and then I really open up. That's acceptance, right? Non-acceptance and being shy is like, oh, it's terrible. I can't, like, everybody hates me. I'm not loud enough. I have to force myself into social situations. and you cross your own boundaries, and then you're uncomfortable and everybody sees you as kind of awkward and weird because you're not respecting yourself, right? So it's the same situation with a different attitude, right? But let me answer your question of like, what do you do to build acceptance, right? Is that was the question, or was it different?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, how do you overcome non-acceptance? How do you overcome that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
State.
like yeah, you've got to build acceptance. And so there's my radical sexual acceptance program is like 7 steps. And so it's imagining success, it's identifying potential obstacles and being prepared for them. It's making a commitment to making that change. It's looking at the stories that we tell ourselves about the world around us. It's about looking at the beliefs that we have about who we are. It's about building community, and it's also about building our like context of experimentation, because nobody comes out of the womb like knowing all the shit that they need to know, right? So it's going to take some experimentation, and if you go like, man, I tried the thing and it was awful and I'm terrible and I'll never do anything again, like you're never going to get anywhere, right? Like you need to be data collecting. You need to be, wow, that maybe is not the position that I want to be in, or that was not ideal. I wonder what factors went into that not being ideal that I might be able to affect to make it more ideal, right? So, yeah, and then also like compassion and attunement are super super huge, right? So compassion is like self-love, compassion is like being generous and kind to yourself, and attunement is like being aware of your feelings, being aware of your emotions and your physical state, right?
So, w- where do you, let's say someone, is trying to engage in a sexual space, but their head is making them think all these things that are wrong with them, and they still go into that space. So,
Hmm.
what essentially you're saying, they're going to go in and make the situation, they're probably not going to come out with a very pleasant sexual experience. Something's probably going to go left, something's going to be wrong because miscommunication is going to occur and all those types of things, right?
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I think, it's a lot of times people will be in states of non-acceptance and will like just not respect their own boundaries, or will like use alcohol to like not be feeling their bodies or other drugs or whatever, or just dissociate, right? And they may outwardly say, wow, I'm having a great time, or they may find people who are like, this is exactly what I want in a partner, we're having a great time, and they feel useful, and so that person adds value to their life, and then they feel valued because they're a good little fuck toy or something, right? But um but that's in contrast to like embodied experiences when you're fully present. And what's really tough is that transitioning from that disembodied experience to an embodied experience often means losing friends, often means changing your social group, often means, disappointing some people. Because if you can't hang out unless you're drunk, right? Because you're super insecure, and there's people who really like you when you're drunk, those people are going to be mad that you are like, you know what, maybe drinking isn't a good idea for me because I'm not safe when I'm doing that, right? So it's really tough. But I think that ultimately that first experience of like not honoring yourself is kind of soul crushing, right? And so eventually you're going to have to pay the piper, and it's going to be really hard, right? And some people never deal with that. Some people grow old and never accept themselves, but I do think it's worth the work. I think that not only do you help yourself, but you help others, you show people the way, And I mean, it's glorious. Acceptance is glorious. It really is. Like, it's amazing. It's really good.
Talked a little bit prior to this. There's been some changes in things. Now, before we get ready to wrap up the show, we talked a little bit about plants, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've been getting into plant medicine.
Plant medicine. Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Well, I mean, it's tough. Maybe I don't want to go too deep into it, but um, I found a tremendous spiritual connection with healing plants. And it has allowed me to grow in really subtle ways, and it has really enriched my inner life. And it's really exciting. And when I think about moving forward, I mean, I think I'll always want to be available for kinky people who are exploring themselves and who want to learn and grow and heal. But I think when I look at my coaching practice moving forward, I see likely a shift more towards helping people connect with plants and grow and heal in that way.
That's awesome. Have you discovered any particular plants or anything that really helps you with, just peace or mood or, how do plants help you, in a spiritual sense, I guess?
Sure, yeah. Two plants that have been really useful for me. One is Entada, which is also known as the African sea bean. Um, and it's like a nut. And when you eat it or drink it in tea or smoke it, it can create these dreams. It doesn't create the dreams. It makes you like much more present in your dreams, much more aware of your dreams. And I began to sort of see my dreams as these like allegories that could teach me a lot. And one of those dreams led me to another plant, and that plant is Lactuca cereola. And I mean, it's funny because I know a lot of people are gonna laugh because it's wild lettuce. It's prickly lettuce. And some people might describe me as prickly or might have described me as prickly. So I think we match that way. Um, but ironically, I saw it in a dream, and it also is another plant that helps you connect with your dreams. And without getting like too deep into it, uh, it has given me this opportunity for a process called recapitulation, where I have a chance to sort of revisit the narratives that have been dominant in my life um and really like take back this lost energy in these traumatic experiences, right? It's a lot like if you've heard of like EMDR therapy, right?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely. Doing that.
eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. And I've done a lot of that, but I've also found that there's this plant that will help me desensitize and reprocess. And it grows in the cracks of the pavement. So, needless to say, it's cheaper than EMDR.
So, I'm actually going to be starting that on Tuesday. So, wish me luck with that.
Fantastic. Yeah, good luck, man. Good luck. And then, yeah, I was gonna say, like, make sure they don't forget to give you like a safe space to like heal, to like rest after.
Yeah,
That happens sometimes.
I'm
People, they
getting
forget.
I'm getting prepped for it. So this is a point of the show towards the end where I ask everybody the same question. Though I believe that there are so many things that I mean, everything we discuss are things that we don't shed light on. Ezra, Sir Ezra, I'm going to kick this back to you and ask you the same question. Do you think there's anything in our community that we are not shedding enough light on? Besides what
Hmm.
besides what you
Yeah, I think we have a responsibility in our community that is not being honored. And that is the responsibility to call people in. We do a real good job of calling people out, but how about we call them in to a conversation they can participate in and give people the opportunity to heal? Like, how many times have you heard there's like not enough Doms? And it's because we make them into villains and then run them out of town. So perhaps we can have conversations which involve calling people in and having conversations with them instead of about them, and protecting ourselves instead of judging our own community members in the same way that vanilla people have judged us, in the same way that straight people have judged us, right? Maybe we can be a little bit better than that.
That's a great answer. Somebody, God, I was talking to somebody and they were hitting on the whole call in, not call out. That's actually one of the interviews that I had for my little summer school special for this. I think that's fantastic. I think that
Yeah.
that's like an old approach. The current IML winner Jamal, we had conversations, and his whole approach to things is to focus on the things that we have in common. Sorry, and not what splits us apart. And so,
Hmm.
like being inviting and being like, hey, it's okay that you don't know, but like, let me tell you how things are, and you be open to that. You know what I'm saying? That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Sir Ezra. Well, that brings us towards the end of this episode of Throwing Light.
Can I tell you, I got one more thing going on.
Go
I
ahead.
go,
I forgot to tell
yeah,
everybody that
yeah,
you're in Maine too. He is in
say it
Maine.
again.
I forgot to tell people you
Yeah,
were.
that's right. I am Maine.
All right.
Well, I'm in Maine for the weekend. Okay.
Okay.
But no, so in addition to Mind Fucking Mindfully, a guide to mental manipulation for BDSM and sadomasochism, which you can get on Amazon, you also can get a book which I don't have handy to show you, but it is called uh The Path Through, a book of paintings and poetry on the subject of trauma. So I wrote the poetry and my mother made the paintings, and it's all about healing from trauma and the different stages. So you can also get that on Amazon, and both copies, both books are available as signed copies. If you're interested, you just have to get in touch with me, and I'm happy to send you a signed copy.
I will definitely share this right on. That is great. I looks like I might be getting me a signed copy. That's what's going to happen.
Nice.
All right. Thank you so much for being on the show. And I hope to have you on again in the future to see what you're up to. But other than that, y'all, that comes to another end of Throwing Light. And if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. I'll see you next Sunday when we have got, I don't know who we've got, but I'll see you next Sunday. Bye. Thank you, Ezra.